8 hours. Maybe people who went to Gulu can tell us today, but since Monday, many of us are trying to find out how could anybody in their normal senses pelt a presidential convoy?
It's still subject to debate.
Yeah.
Because some people would think
because
differently.
What caused the arrest?
So you are saying that it should start from the pelting.
What caused the arrest?
There are people, senior as Dr. Besige, who think that the discussion should actually start from whether or not the president should be going for a parliamentary campaign where people are supposed to be freer, and yet he moves with, you know, a whole probably so many troops and all that.
That's justify pelting his convoy.
Yeah, I'm saying that is the argument.
The president was in Arua for 2 activities. The first activity was to launch a community household project on farming. That one was the first in the morning. The second one was to campaign for the candidate of the NRM. He's the chairman of the NRM party. And
so let's talk about the second one, because the first one did not cause any problem. Let's talk about the second one.
The second one, the Electoral Commission gazettes campaign grounds for all the candidates. Like I've said, we had 12 candidates in this election. But the NRM party had the rightful grounds of these campaigns.
Arua Hill.
And we had a peaceful rally until after the rally. That's when we heard about pelting of stones and gunshots and disruption. And the president's convoy was pelted with stones. And even we've seen pictures saying his vehicle, one of his convoy vehicles was stoned. Okay. Now the debate is whether or not these are photoshops. And for me, I am shocked that we can discuss that.
Okay, Photoshop happens. Trump is crying about fake news. Right. So this is a time of fake news, and you can never rule them out. Yes, on
to me, I want to. I'm very practical. When Bobi Wine's driver was shot in that vehicle, it was towed to the police as an exhibit. So where is this exhibit of the president's vehicle that was stoned at? For me, in my own opinion, I think if it is true that the vehicle was stoned, then government has tampered with the scene of crime. And therefore, there is no exhibit to show that actually the vehicle was stoned until government comes out clearly to prove. But I think the NRM had smelt that the Honorable Wadri was going to win. And they looked out for a scheme of having him and his entire task force incarcerated, little knowing that they were actually even creating more sympathy for him. And to me, the political environment should be in such a way that everyone who participates should be given the freedom and liberty to participate. And whoever wins, we congratulate them. Whoever loses concedes. But if you think you're going to come with your military might, then you go to hotels and pick up somebody's supporters, people who are supposed to be going for vote protection because you have the army, then I think that is not really fair. If we are practicing democracy, we should practice it in its true sense. The trumped-up charges coming on our fellow members. Yesterday, actually, I'm on record if you go to the Hansard. I was against the idea of a parliamentary team being sent to go and witness a military junta trying civilians who are not actually known soldiers or members of the UPDF under a military court-martial, because we are setting a very bad precedence. Tomorrow, somebody is going to get a magazine or a gun and throw it in my car because the regime wants to get at me. And they will take me to the court-martial, which is controlled by the commander-in-chief. I think we are setting a very bad precedence.
But there is the case of, is it Kitata? He was charged there too, a civilian. Why didn't you MPs raise that complaint as well?
That one's a criminal.
Kitata and Boda 2010.
Because forget about what he does. As the law says, he is innocent until proven guilty. So if you were MPs who mean well for this country and for the rule of law, you should have raised that complaint from around that time.
Well, it's
not that this time it is good.
It's not the first time Ugandans and members of parliament are going against civilians being tried in a military court.
Okay.
There are so many examples of people who have, where actually even there are even cases, precedents, rulings in the courts where lawyers have objected to trials of civilians because the military court-martial was created by a law.
Yeah.
And that law gives
the
it
UPDF.
specific jurisdiction under the UPDF Act. So we are mixing issues of security with politics,
Okay.
which is really unfortunate.
Honorable Salam Musumba, I need you to take it from there. There are many others, I think about 33 of these charged persons who were charged at the Chief Magistrate's Court. But then there is the case of, I think, Honorable Robert Chagulanyi, who is being charged at the court-martial. And one of the complaints, I listened to Dr. Besigye when he made a point that that the military court is under the control of the commander-in-chief because he appoints the leaders and the members and all that. And where is a complainant in a political case, then it becomes he's the complainant and also the prosecutor, and then it becomes the judge as well. Do you share that view, and do you think, and what do you think could be the solution, should be the solution going forward?
I just don't want to take myself into that.
Why not?
Because I'm no expert. I don't want to take. I want to restrict myself to what I witnessed in Arua.
Go for it.
And for me, it's now an established pattern that any other competitor is attacked. The pattern is clear. They raid your office. You cease to be a candidate. The security takes over, overruns your campaign headquarters, arrests your supporters, and then purports to hold a free and fair election when half your team is in prison. In this case of Arua, it's even worse, that a candidate was in prison, you know, and elections went on. It's just unspeakable that can be called a free and fair election or in a free environment. But also what I saw in Arua is another pattern of violence that is new on the political scene, which is civilian. And Electoral Commission has actually lost control of the entire process. The military is out of sync with democracy. It's not under civilian rule. In Arua, it wasn't police, it wasn't military, it wasn't CMI, it wasn't ESO. I mean, the chain of command just got lost. At some point, I was at the hotel where I was surrounded at about midday. They had no search warrant. They said they were looking for MPs. And I said, well,
was this the same Pacific?
No. It was a different one. It was another one called what?
Destiny Court.
Destiny Courts, Destiny Suits Hotel. And 4 pickups full of, and it was the RPC driving the military. You know, you see the failure, just the total failure. And well, they got in and they started searching. They didn't even know what they were searching. They just attacked the hotel. Fortunately, I was alone in the hotel because that was our base and I was at the command base. And they didn't know me. They didn't even know me. They asked the lady at the reception, who's that? I said, that's Salam. But the RPC knew me because he's Msoga. When I observed the things they were doing, I felt so sad.
Breaking doors, or what were they doing?
You know, they went, I think they were looking for somebody, particular somebody, and they didn't know who.
This is Monday or Tuesday?
On election day.
Yesterday.
On election day.
This was yesterday.
The terror, just the sheer terror of their presence, the sheer terror of not knowing what they were up to. And remember, they just killed somebody. somebody was dead. A candidate was in prison, and they were just on a frolic of their own. They overran the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission lost control. The Electoral Commission is ever coming late for everything. They have lost the agenda. They don't even know how to communicate to candidates.
At one time, the Electoral Commission...
I mean, they're just...
I think at one time, the Electoral Commission, I think, had a meeting to discuss whether or not to call
And where were they having the meeting from? From Kampala. They were not in Arua. You cannot take... They weren't. They weren't. They got there late. They got there disorganized. They got there ill-informed, you know? Okay. And I am seeing this for the second time from Bujiri. And, you know, they make the entire population vulnerable. They have let radicalized people in the community having to shut down and go. NRM has lost the plot. They have trained enough people to threaten them out of existence. And so you get to an environment where you are not sure whether you should engage politically or whether you should just leave. Dr.
Wakida, I'll come back to you later. You need to come in at this point. Have you lost the plot as NRM or as the executive, let me say, that is supposed to manage these things?
Well, it is not unusual for Honorable Salam to use a thick brush to paint. And we are now used to her in that way. But
defend.
Let me first go. We haven't lost the plot.
Yeah.
But like the president did point out, in the particular instance of Arua, that administratively, the police, say call it the police, which is the lead agency in policing on election day and day to day, that if indeed the Electoral Commission has schedule and has gazetted campaign venues for the last day rallies, and perhaps also mapped out the routes for going into those venues and out, how come that when the rallies ended, the police was absent or was thin to allow two groups to confront each other in the manner that they did? That led.
Police tried.
No. So that's the first weakness, which adds to what Salam is saying, that perhaps we need to do more administratively with the Electoral Commission and the police, obviously together with the candidates and their campaign agents.
Can I ask a question
No.
to that?
Let me first.
You're going to answer them together. If let's talk about Centenary referred to Honorable Centenary rather referred to an issue of a practical reality on the ground, where police is and trying to control law and order or even traffic, and SFC operatives arrive. Is it possible that the police can say no to them?
Let me also first tell you, haven't you seen situations where opposition politicians have actually shoved away and beaten police officers at polling stations? Haven't you seen? Did you see that in Ginger East? Did you see that in Ginger East?
That would be a different case of criminality.
So, secondly, and I want to tie that with Mr. Besige, you like quoting as the expert on many things. I don't consider him an expert or professional on military matters, because we can check around Uganda, the military colleges, or around the world, which one did he attend to qualify to be a professional or an expert.
So where did Museveni also attend?
You can come and make that comment.
And what was his real name?
Two, Besigye made the constitution by making he was a member of the CA.
Yes.
They wrote in that constitution that the president is the fountain of honor, takes precedent above all persons.
Is that Article 98?
And
it's
there.
Whether,
As such.
yes, whether during elections or not, and therefore, if the president
elections or not.
Yes, at all times, when he's in Uganda, and therefore, if the president is in Arua for campaigns, as long as he does not disrupt, prevent the gazetted campaign schedules and rules of other persons, the president's convoy should be given the leeway.
I want to clarify that.
3,
You are raising dust.
Yes, 3.
Yes.
Centenary is importing or imputing as if it is the president who is the cause of the trouble. Let us again look at where there was death in Bujiri. Was the president there that day? No.
He wasn't.
Why did the two groups confront each other at that school and led to the death of a secondary school student? Was the president there? No, he wasn't. So that can't be the issue. 4, we have had a pattern which has become
But also
habitual,
you know that
which
the
has become
the campaigns went on peacefully until Monday, right?
The campaigns went from 23rd of July to 13th of August, 3 weeks, very peaceful,
Yes.
no major incidents.
So
but
would,
we have
would
now
someone
had,
be right
yes,
or
now,
wrong
no, listen,
to say that
listen,
the coming of the president also caused the problem?
And I have here video, where on the same day, Bobi Wine and Cassian Wadwi's group accosted FDC Bruce's rally 3 times. Was the president the one accompanying Bobi Wine and Cassian Wadwi's supporters to go to the FDC rally? No. But the final point I want to make, we have had a pattern now which has become habitual, that MPs, particularly from the opposition, it is their right to go and canvass support for their people, for their groups, and go and say we are going to protect votes from being stolen. That's okay. But it has become habitual for them, when they go there, to be arrogant, to sow hate politics, and to behave as if all rules are suspended when it is election and MPs are around.
Okay.
And I think
it is wrong.
And yes, it is. And I think everyone should know that when you start a fight, I come from a village where we used to rear cows and goats, and we look for white ants. If you start a fight, know their consequences.
Good.
These MPs must be told that when they start a fight, particularly outside Parliament, there are bound to be consequences, and they must live with those consequences.
Okay. Dr. Wakida, you wanted to respond immediately.
I think the critical thing here is that there was a life lost.
True. And which we must pay attention to.
People threw stones to the president, which is completely wrong.
There could have been a bloodbath.
We could have lost a president, and the situation in this country could be different by now. So thank God that that did not happen. But at the same time, I've been asking myself, with all intent and purposes, the president has got many people who work for him. Why did the president use that route? The route for which information he must have already got, that there was opposition in procession. That's one.
Not necessarily opposition, actually any procession.
Yes,
because there was NRM coming from Arua Hill.
Very good.
There was the group of Wadri coming from Ediofe Road. And then, but he didn't go the downside.
And these are very critical questions for the president.
You can leave that for SFC command.
Wait a minute.
To take action on the operation
why
of the day.
Did that happen?
His answer is asking questions.
Yeah, I'm telling you, he should leave that the operations to the SFC to take action on the operations commander of the day.
SFC is not going to resurrect this young man who lost his life as a result of that carelessness. So you tell me about SFC, that does not work in this time.
SFC serves the public,
I want to ask another question. The president, why does he subject himself to that kind of humiliation? It was all evident. It was all evident that this election, NRM could not win. So why did the president go there?
Is there any
wait a minute.
Where NRM goes to win? Is that what you are suggesting?
Let me ask you a question.
Before the vote,
I want to ask you a question.
Remember what we did? I said he is only being an asker.
The president,
the asker can ask.
The president, after being voted as a president, he's over and above everybody in Uganda. It's like getting Kesisi Football Club to go and play with my small village of Mafudu. football club, Mafud. You know that pitch along the road as you go to Sironko.
Yes.
With no grass.
With no grass. The president should restrict himself to bigger issues. Now, the other thing I want to be asking.
Finally.
Good enough you were there. Where did this shooting happen? Where did the boy die from? And that's the fact you guys in Parliament should be asking. There are two places here. There is Hotel Royal, there is Hotel Pacific.
Now that you know the place, we shall
That
ask you.
no. Because you see, for us, we are getting information. These are very critical questions.
You seem to have the information.
In order for you to establish the death point. Because there was death, we can talk about what happened, who won. But the critical thing here is that life was lost.
Needlessly.
But also, can parties learn that it's not about colors, it's not about parties. Sometimes it's about a person. And that's what happened in Arua.
Okay.
People voted for a person.
Okay. Honorable Nandala.
Thank you very much.
Your views about the incarceration?
First of all, I want to start with this. In 1980, when President Museveni stood as a UPM president, I think he got 7 votes.
Yes.
Like his name. It clearly showed that time he had nothing and it was nothing. All these who are following him is because he has something now. And I'm not following him for anything. In 1986, when we came, we brought National Resistance Movement to show you that you people are in a problem. When you're bringing multi-party politics, he carried the name National Resistance Movement. So many people went there thinking the National Resistance Movement, yet this is now National Resistance Movement organization. So it clearly shows this gentleman has had a series of issues. Now, as we speak now, he's on really a downtrend.
Yes.
And he must use all available means for his survival. And that's why I want to make these cases now. One, EC is no longer in charge of security. And yet the law says EC should be in charge. In elections.
Yes.
I saw them when we asked the chairman and the vice. You see them saying,
But you grabbed a military vehicle.
Don't worry, and we're ready for them for us. and yet, because I don't know why you bring military in election or whatever. And yet, when we ask the chairman and the vice, I saw them even not say, oh, we do work with the coordinate security. In fact, the security in election reports to the electoral commission. But they have given away. 3, I was at a place called Madibo in Kenya. The mayor of Arua called Kato.
Kenya country.
Kenya Ward, sorry. Okay. The mayor, but the place called Madiba. The name like Manderas. The mayor came. He got there people. He literally people were saying they were saying he was carrying what ballot papers and money. When this raised it, the man first came. He broke boys' legs. He came back and came. Then when the boys got up and started because there was a house between.
The ones that had broken their legs, they chased him again.
No, there were people on the side. There were men at the polling station. No. So when they followed, the man went to police. They came and rounded off. They have arrested over 40 boys. Yet the man who should be in prison is what?
According to
the mayor. I swear that mayor should be. In fact, you listen now.
Finally.
No, not finally. Now.
No, we have run out of time.
Now, I'll tell you this. Now, when the president
one minute.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
You see, the virus, we don't want it in election.
Yes.
And I can tell you, for me, I was there even on Sunday. Wadri's team attacked us, Bruce's team, but we were very peaceful.
Is this the attack that Honorable Salam was referring to?
First of all, at Edofe. No, Edofe first.
On social media.
No,
Someone just sent a message.
Near the church school.
You were
near the
talking
school.
about
the church. Then at Mvara down there, near Mvara, the Protestant.
There.
Please listen first. That is also we condemn it. But what happened the following day? Let me tell you, if Museveni should stop going to these campaigns as a president.
But he's a party leader.
Yes, let him go as a chairman.
And you know, under multi-party politics, the rules provide.
Listen, the chairman of a party can go under campaign, but let him leave these things. Otherwise, if he wants to be a president, he must be a president for all Ugandans. At that time, he was the president for only what? NRM. That's dangerous. Yeah, it is true. Because if he was the president for all of us, he would be the one now coming and say, coming all the groups.
Okay.
But now, You see,
the one coming
you see
people
what
now.
happened? For me, if they, I'm
Way
so
forward, way
no,
forward.
I'm going to give you a go. If they stoned the cars, why did they not break the one which is bulletproof? Never broke those pickups. Even his toilet was not hit, and all that. But they only broke.
You said that one was the luggage
you
carrier.
see, these are things I've seen.
That
I have
one
watched.
was
Only
not,
one was
not
broken.
armored.
And you see, people have to be very careful.
So you want
In the statement outed
all of them to
yesterday,
be
At least if they stole, why only that? They
you
should
wanted
have.
all of them to be stoned so that broken so that you believe.
I want to make this case now.
I want to bring in Chairman Mao to
Yes, it's
wind
going
up.
to come. At Arua Hill, that place was booked by Joko. And he had paid. They threw Joko out and took it over. That's violence already by Muslim. That's why I was crying. They arrested MPs, Munyagwa. I'll give you an example. That's why I'm worried even now. My colleagues were arrested with something. Munyagwa, Haji Swedi, Amata Tagafa, this councillor from Kawempe. They were about 5. They tied them. They beat them very well.
You are not mentioning Honorable Zaki.
No, wait,
and
I'm
Honorable
giving an
Chagulani.
example. This one, ours. On the front, they picked everything.
For you are mentioning only yours.
Listen, listen, I'm the right maker. Listen. Now, if they beat these ones like this,
Okay.
yet what about the Zakes? Then any woman they go to the previous day, whom they say had a gun, had beaten the police. I am sure they're dead. They are finished. Because that's why even they cannot bring Chagulani in a normal court because they want to take him in a hidden place. I'm sure this man is not even sitting. I'm not even so sure if he's there. Maybe the others. So these are things we must be very careful. And I want to call on President Museveni to really respect the people of Uganda. They have been kind to him for 35 years. He should not extend beyond this.
Okay.
It is very bad for him to import violence in an election.
Okay.
And the man,
But
this
you're
was
not talking about
please,
people attacked
they,
you.
cha-
Was
they,
it
charged,
the one who
they,
attacked
they
you?
charged the election in Arua was charged. And Museveni made it worse by bringing everywhere SFC, tankers, police, this local whatever. The place was finished. And everybody was saying, what is this? Are we in a war? The
Okay.
Queen was here. So this gentleman should really desist from going if he still wants to be really called the president of Uganda. New
Okay.
administrative units, we are going to discuss it. I also agree on this one with Lydia. I'm sure Electoral Commission, first of all, those machines where we put the hand, the BV what?
BVR.
They have no totalizers. What it means is it cannot total how many people have passed their fingers there. It cannot tell you who has even passed there. So instead of now improving the system, every day they are based on by-elections. New administrative units, they are just busy making money instead of developing. And now we think
Finally, Honorable
this is very dangerous.
Honorable Mao. Way forward.
Charles,
Way forward on.
I know we are pressed for time,
Yeah.
but one writer in the early years said of all manifestations of power, restraint impresses men most. And in Makerere, we used to say the force must be equal to the danger. Whatever the danger posed to the presidential convoy, and indeed, Honorable Gona Hassa told me that there was stone throwing at the presidential convoy. I think the response was far out of proportion to the danger that was posed. And we must condemn that. We must condemn the stone throwing also. There is no way. We need order. The other thing is that we would probably be talking in a more civil manner. But what is going on now is not prosecution. It is really persecution. If you heard the testimony of Honorable Segona and the Honorable Asuman Basalirwa, who actually saw Honorable Robert Chagulani.
They saw him?
Yeah.
This afternoon?
They saw him and they spoke to the media. And we all received the audios.
Did they talk to him?
He cannot talk. His eyes are closed. He cannot sit. He can't stand. And yet he was brought to take. This is the first time in the history of humanity that somebody who is half dead is brought to court. Even Jesus, at least, was able to respond to Pilate. he had some life in him. This one was half dead.
This is in Gulu.
In Gulu. And then immediately he has been flown to Makindye. They told the lawyers that they don't know the whereabouts of Honorable Zake. And yet he is on the charge sheet. Now, I think as Ugandans, the debate should be about the character of the state. The kind of state that the NRM has created is really predatory. Elections should be a competition to serve, not a struggle for survival. I should not be fighting to defend myself against death if I'm in an election. I should be allowed to take my product to the marketplace. Let the buyers reject my product.
The product being
I should not be beaten up at the gate of the market on account that my products are bad. Let the voters be the judge. Therefore,
just before you make the last communication, was the wife allowed permission to see him?
There are only 2 people who were allowed in, and it took a lot of back and forth negotiation, a lot of behind the counter outreaches.
But what about medical attention? Is he getting? Because that's provided
he was supposed to be on drip. As I talk now, we are even planning to request the authorities, because we spoke to our DP UK chapter to receive them, at least Honorable Zake and Honorable Robert Chagulanyi, so that they can be taken out for treatment. The truth is, they are in a very, very, very bad shape. What I suspect is that these people who escorted the president saw the back of the president out of Arua, then came back with a list. They came back with a list, and they just did everything in the most crude and cruel manner possible. There are witnesses who saw what happened. A lot is not being said. As they say, in any conflict situation, the truth is the first casualty. So,
okay.
I personally believe that the government should stop this business of bringing images that don't add up. The truth of the matter is that, what's the point of taking me to court if you have already punished me so severely?
Okay.
It simply means that you probably know you don't have evidence, and these charges will not stand the test, and they are just meant to harass. But the truth of the matter is, we must pick up some lessons. The hatred, you know, in one of his notorious books, Machiavelli said, whether you should be, as a leader, you should be feared or loved. And he said you should be feared.
You cannot force love.
But then he said, but above all, don't risk being hated, because hatred can drown fear. I think the hatred some of the members of our society have for the person of the president and whatever he represents has now drowned their fear, and they are ready to do anything. We should be worried about that, and we need to have a healthy conversation about the future, particularly the young people who have nothing to lose.
Okay, thank you so much. That's the voice of Chairman Mao. Unfortunately, we have overshot our time by 10 minutes almost. A frontliner, Ofono Opondo, frontliner and Executive Director of the Uganda Media Center. Honorable Nandala Mafabi Nathan, he is the Secretary General of the FDC, the biggest opposition party. And Chairman Bugisu Cooperative Union, the only working cooperative union currently in Uganda. Dr. Patrick Wakida is a researcher and affiliated to the FDC in opposition. And Honorable Salam Proscovia of Onopondo insists that I must add the word Proscovia. One day I will find out why he is attached to that name. But Honorable Salam Proscovia Musuba, yes?